Welcome to Surrender School.
So hopefully everybody has had a chance to watch the video or portions of the video. And I want to let people know that each week now, Joy has posted, and thank you, Joy, for doing that, has posted the time saver. So you'll see the video, and then just below it, you'll see something that says time saver homework or something like that. And that is the time stamps for when each of the different types. It basically says what the topics are and where they are time-wise. And then also, if you just want to jump right to your type. So if it's a particularly busy week and you don't have time to watch the whole thing, because sometimes they're 30 to 45 minutes, you can basically watch the beginning because that kind of sets it up. And then you can watch the types. Remember, as we go through this, the videos will mention the book, which is the Enneagram for Recovery, but we don't read the book this time around, right? If you have it, obviously read it. That'd be great because it's a great book, but we don't, even though I refer to it in the video, it's not part of the assignment anymore. Okay. All right. Please keep in mind that this is intended to be a personal journey. It is not intended to teach you the Enneagram, although you will learn the Enneagram, and I think everybody is. And then, but its goal is to help you recognize the wonderful person that you are so that you can relax into your true self. Where the God of your understanding resides, or at least touches you. The way that we do that is we recognize the unseen forces that drive our behaviors. And in the past, we called those defects. Maybe you still do. Those are the passions or the defenses that your ego puts up. And then the fixations are the stories that we tell ourselves. The way that we do that is by catching ourselves in the act whenever our ego causes us to act out our persistent defects, right? In program, right, it's like, oh my God, that defect is back. Yep. But now you get to see it, right? And then gently remind ourselves to return to our true shining self. That's kind of the goal of all of this. Okay, some things to keep in mind. I am not an expert on anything. Recovery is a process, not an event. Self-contempt stops spiritual growth. So there are some people that just live, and I used to be one of these people that just lived in self-contempt. I thought if I hated myself enough, I would recover. Doesn't work that way. What I learned is that self-contempt stops spiritual growth. And it's like my higher power says, you can hate yourself or you can grow spiritually. You can't do both. You decide, I'll wait. Okay, you get out what you put into it. And this is a don't beat yourself up moment, because what you can put into it is what you will put into it. Linda, it actually ties to the thing you said this morning, right? It's like you do what you can do, right? You don't even have to make excuses. You do what you can do, and you will get out of it as much as you put into it. So sometimes you're going to put almost nothing into it. It's okay, because the space you're at is a restful space, right? But there'll be other times you're on fire and you're working it hard. You get a lot out of it. That's the way it works, right? That's just almost like one of the laws of the universe. The three books mostly that I got information out of for all of these classes is the first one, The Alchemy of the Enneagram. That is where I got the new titles. Merciful Teacher, Inspiring Champion, those new titles were from The Alchemy of the Enneagram. And then The Enneagram for Recovery, which is the book that is mentioned in the video, and then The Wisdom of the Enneagram, which sometimes is called the Bible for the Enneagram. I need to say The Alchemy of the Enneagram. To say that I am excited that Michael Naylor is going to do the book study is a way understatement. I mean, I'm very, very excited. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. He's just a lovely man. And the fact that he is willing to come to Surrender School and do this is awesome. He's also doing sessions for Friendly Circle Berlin on, like, in essence, what ends up being alternate Mondays. Each of them are once a month. So check that out as well. And the two of those together, I think you're going to get, and he is an expert on the Enneagram, obviously. So, yeah, and he's also happens to be a very, very good writer. I was a literature major in college, so I'm really picky about the way people write. And it's almost like reading Bill W. It's not as hard, I suppose, but he's very poetic in the way he writes, and I'm impressed with his writing. Okay, a couple things I want to point out, super important here. Okay, we have some schedule changes. The office hours will be Monday and Thursday, 8 a.m., both at 8 a.m., starting in September. So 2 more noon Mondays. I will do 2 more next week and the week after, or this week and the week after. And then no, it won't be at noon anymore. It'll be at 8 a.m. Pacific time. The other thing is Labor Day weekend, August 31st, there will be no class. That's Labor Day here in the US. And there'll be no class. And then no office hours on that Monday, which is actually Labor Day itself. So get that, put that, and Joy will go out. We're going to get together later, and she'll shift all the dates on the website so they shift. I actually added one. October 19th, which is when this ends, includes 1 week where we can take it off, and I've decided to take Labor Day weekend off because we're going to do something with family. So okay. Anyway, so that's all good. Really jot that down so that you remember, and Joy will change the website so it matches that. All right. I thought this was an extremely compelling picture. So imagine that you are standing in nature, which is about, for me at least, the place that I am most grounded and most, I realize the power of my insignificance. There is power in the fact that I'm not in control or in charge of anything. That works for me. And I found a saying the other day that I really, really liked, and this picture for some reason came up for me. The magic you are seeking is in the work you are avoiding. And I'm going to put the spiritual work you are avoiding. And this is what I found. The magic that I am seeking is in the spiritual work that I avoid. That's part of that ego structure that says, no, 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 I want to be in charge. And it's like, oh, if I'm looking for that real spiritual connection, I can find it in the spiritual work that I'm avoiding, right? I don't know why that happens that way, but it certainly happens that way for me. The reason that I put this here in the presentation today is because I really, really want you to dig deep as you can, to share. The shares in these sessions have been amazing, and I thank you so much for doing that. If you are one who hasn't shared so far, or you don't feel comfortable sharing, any little bit that you can share is well worth it. Especially now that we're starting to really look, and we're starting to really kind of, especially those that are going through it a second time, right now is when you're digging deep, and I'm going to ask you absolutely to do that. Okay, enough of that. All right, so the video for session 2, which included all of the new titles, and also included what does sanity look like for your type, and that was read aloud. So if you don't have the book, all you did was hear it, and that's fine too. That's all good. And then the other thing was the weekly challenge. I went back and looked at the weekly challenge. This, I think, may be my favorite weekly challenge of all the ones that we did through the whole thing. They're really fun. They're really cool because they had very, very specific things to do, and you had choices of that. And in some cases, it's journal, and then there's some physical things that I had you do and all that. And I would love to hear about that, and also the mantra. So the question that I'm asking you to share about now is there anything in what sanity looks like, and how does this sanity of your type show up, right? Once again, the insanity is you catch yourself in the act and go, okay, now I can see that that is changing. The video, the types that we're talking about, that's super. Anything that you did from the weekly challenge, if you did the weekly challenge or even read the weekly challenge and kind of thought about it for a little bit, or anything about your mantra and how that touches you. So I'm going to stop sharing. So the next thing I want to talk about real quick is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And specifically the idea that recovery takes time and work. And then what are some of the practices that you use to strengthen your belief? Right? I think that that's a nice thing to be able, we'll share for a few minutes on this if anybody has anything on, because once again, because the came to believe means that it takes time, and the spiritual practice that you have now is not the same as the spiritual practice that you had when you first came to recovery, right? It won't be, because they grow over time. So now what we're talking about is the problems, or the issues that, and some people already talked about this, but I want to have it on here. And basically, did any of these feel true or false? And those of you that shared on the number 4, that's not quite right, I'll get with you guys later and we'll figure out what is right. And I won't change it in the video, but it'll be something that we always talk about during these sessions. All right. Does anybody else, and I'm going to come off sharing, anybody else want to share on did any of this hit you true or not true? This down in the corner, you probably have some space in the corner that nothing is written there. I'd like you to put your cognitive error there, and I will cover that. And once again, the cognitive error is what causes you to live under the lie, right? I talked about the lie you live under or the misinterpretation of the world that you live under. And the cognitive error is what causes you to do that. And what's fascinating is the cognitive error means that all of us have that head center, that story we're telling ourselves, and it's tied to that. So I'm going to take just a minute to go through each of these because I want you to capture the one for your type and write it on your fill-in sheet. So let me go to the correct slide here. All right, so for the one, the cognitive error is they identify too much with the critical part of the head center, that super ego. And some of you that have been in like ACA or some of those programs, you identify too much with the critical parent. It's like you become your own critical parent. Okay, that's for the one. For the two, the cognitive error is that their value is based on seeing a positive response from other people. The other people may not even be responding to the two, but that's what their entire value. I mean, obviously that's a matter of levels, but their cognitive error, their thinking error is that their value is based on seeing a positive response from other people. So not only does there need to be a positive response, they need to see the positive response, right? Okay. For the three, their cognitive error is that their value is based on performance and external image. So their value is based on an external image. Okay. For the four, they identify too much with their emotional states, not knowing. They forget that this too shall pass, good and bad. This too shall pass. And I don't mean good and bad. I just mean, suffering or celebrating, right? This too shall pass. And they forget that. It's not even like a possibility when they're in the middle of that. The five, they believe that they can experience or understand by witnessing instead of truly experiencing, right? So, and that, Stephanie, that ties back to what you were saying, right? Jumping into the flow of life as opposed to observing the flow. They believe, right? So their cognitive error is that they believe that they get the experience by witnessing the experience instead of having to actually do the experience. For the six, they look for guidance outside of themselves on how to keep themselves safe. The sixes there's a twist here, and I admit fully that sixes confuse me. I don't have an arrow or they're not in my group, right? So sixes are the hardest ones for me. I understand the fear part, but not the other pieces of this. So once again, this could be I got this cognitive error thing from Michael Naylor, and then of course I summarize it so I can put it out here. So I may be misunderstanding what the summary is on the six. It's entirely possible because I'm not. The other ones I at least am related to, but the sixes I'm not. Okay, so looks for guidance outside of themselves on how to keep themselves safe. Okay, for the seven, their cognitive error is they live in anticipation of a better future. And I have a friend in my life who's a seven, and we were looking at like the most beautiful sunset you've ever seen in your life. It was astounding. And he said, "Oh, I can't wait to see the sunrise tomorrow." What? Right? This is like almost perfect. And he was pitching himself into the future. What? Right? So, anyway, the cognitive error is that they live in anticipation instead of being present, they live in anticipation of a better future. For the eight, the cognitive error is that they're constantly working against something or someone. I mean, I am wired to resist, right? That initial, I have to literally put that hand down. I have to work to not resist. I'm wired to resist, right? So the cognitive error is that we are constantly working against something, even if there's nothing there. And some people will call it picking a fight, right? But it doesn't feel like picking a fight. It just is, yeah. That's less and less now, but I can get the cognitive error there. And for the 9, the cognitive error is that they get peace of mind by disengaging from instincts and from reality. Okay, the lie is that there's no harm in delaying things, but their cognitive error is that they believe their peace of mind comes from disengaging. And in reality, the peace of mind actually comes from being part of life. But, right, so they disengage from instincts, disengage from reality. So the cognitive error is that they believe they're going to get peace of mind from that. And then in all of this case, and then surprised when whatever it is doesn't happen. Okay, so now I want to go, I think, let's see, I think if I do. Let's everybody, okay, now we're here. All right, so everybody has that written down. All right, now we're going to talk about the messages that you did not get in childhood. I found this and I read it somewhere and couldn't find it, so I looked it up and now I'm going to share it with you because I think it's really cool. So the person that shared this said, these are the messages that we didn't get in childhood, although they might have been said, we just didn't hear them. We didn't get whatever that was. And so much of what we do, because once again, the ego structure is there. It's entirely possible it was said and it was shared and it was, right? And you just didn't hear it. And this has made your life more difficult because you didn't hear it. So I'm going to cover these one at a time. We'll start with the 1. The message that the 1 did not hear is you are good. You are good. The message that the 2 did not hear is you are wanted. So 2s, let that settle in. You are wanted. The message that the 3s didn't hear are you are loved for yourself. The message for the 4, you are seen for who you are. You are seen for who you are. The message for the 5, your needs are not a problem. Your needs are not a problem. For the 6, you are safe. You are safe. For the 7, you will be taken care of. You will be taken care of. For the 8, you will not be betrayed. You will not be betrayed. And for the 9, your presence matters. Your presence matters. It's amazing the way things work. Okay, office hours 8 a.m. Pacific on Monday, 8 a.m. Pacific on Thursday. 2 more noon ones. Reading room is there. Go to Surrender School for the meeting number. Let's see if there's anything else here. And then questions and sharing. Okay, that's it.
Thanks for recovering with us.